Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. Welcome to Keanu's Heroic Acts, where stories of humanity, respect, and silent courage come alive. Because real heroes don't need spotlight, just a good heart.
The enigmatic connection. Reeves and Bullock. For years, people have watched the silent bond between Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock with both curiosity and admiration. It was not just another Hollywood friendship or a random spark from a film set. There was something different, something unspoken that reached beyond red carpets and flashing cameras. Their connection carried warmth, patience, and respect that felt rare in a world built on speed and spotlight. It began with Speed, a movie that introduced two souls who seemed to understand each other without saying much. When audiences saw them together for the first time, they didn't just see characters fighting danger, they saw two real people who mirrored something honest. There was a calm in Keanu's eyes whenever he looked at Sandra, and there was a quiet joy in her smile whenever she glanced back. Years later, fans still replay those scenes, not for the action, but for the rare chemistry that couldn't be directed or rehearsed. As time passed, their careers took different paths. Sandra rose to become one of the most respected actresses of her generation, while Keanu became a symbol of humility and quiet strength. Yet no matter how many years went by, the world couldn't stop wondering. What really happened between them? Was it ever love or something even deeper? Keanu and Sandra both denied the rumors of romance, always answering with respect and gentle laughter. But behind those smiles, there was always a hint of something unsaid. People noticed how they never lost touch, how they still spoke kindly of each other, how every mention carried warmth that couldn't be faked. In interviews, when Sandra was once asked if she ever had a crush on Keanu, she laughed and said yes, adding that nothing ever happened because maybe they both had crushes at different times. Years later, when Keanu was asked the same question, he smiled softly and said, "She didn't know I had a crush on her too." That single line broke the internet. The audience melted. There was no gossip, no scandal, just two honest hearts revealing a missed moment that made people believe in gentle love again. The simplicity of their words carried deep emotion. It wasn't a movie line, it was real life, and maybe that was why it touched millions. It showed that love doesn't always need to happen to be real. Sometimes, a connection can live quietly in respect, waiting, never demanding to be defined. Keanu has always been known as a man who values silence more than noise. He rarely explains himself. He doesn't post his private life for the world to see. Fans call him mysterious, but those who truly watch him know it isn't mystery. It's peace. He protects what matters. And perhaps Sandra was one of those things he chose to protect, even if it meant never labeling what they had. Through the years, both experienced their share of pain. Keanu faced unimaginable loss, the death of his daughter, his partner, and close friends. Sandra, too, endured heartbreak, betrayal, and the heavy pressure of fame. Yet both remained kind. They never turned bitter. And each time life knocked them down, the world saw them rise again, with grace, humor, and strength. This shared resilience became the invisible bridge between them. Even when they weren't in each other's lives daily, there was always a feeling that they understood each other's silence. People close to them often described their connection as a rare peace. Many years after Speed, when they reunited for the lake house, fans felt that peace again. The story of two people separated by time but connected by letters mirrored their real-life connection. It was almost poetic. Keanu and Sandra once again sharing a story about love that waited, love that didn't fade, love that lived through distance. Their performances didn't feel like acting. It felt like memory, off-screen. Their interactions were even more telling. Sandra once said in an interview, "Keanu is a person who, even if I don't see him for months or years when we meet, it's as if no time has passed." That line revealed everything. It wasn't about romance or headlines. It was about comfort, the kind that doesn't ask for attention. And Keanu, when asked about her, didn't give long answers. He simply said, "She's a good person. She's kind. She makes people better." Those words, coming from a man known for few, carried the weight of something pure, behind the cameras. They often sent quiet gestures to each other, birthday gifts, small notes, even handwritten letters. Once, Sandra shared that after filming Speed, Keanu showed up at her door with flowers and truffles, simply saying he thought she might like them. No big reason, no hidden motive, just kindness. And she said that simple moment stayed with her forever. For the world, these gestures became proof that maybe something beautiful was left unspoken. But for them, it was just natural. It was how they communicated, a language without words. And as years went on, Keanu's life began to shift again. Fans noticed he started appearing more open, smiling more often, attending events with Alexandra Grant, a woman he had quietly admired for years. But even then, the respect between him and Sandra never changed. In fact, Sandra was one of the first people to say she was happy for him. That's what made their bond so unique. It was free of jealousy or regret. Still, a question lingered in the air. What was Keanu's real choice now? Was it love, peace, or something the world could never understand? The truth was deeper than romance. Keanu's real choice wasn't between two people. It was between the life the world expected from him and the life that gave him peace. And somehow, Sandra was a quiet part of that peace, a reminder of what it means to connect without needing to own. Their friendship became an anchor, a proof that love can exist in many forms. Not all love stories are about marriage or lifelong promises. Some are about two souls who meet, understand, and walk beside each other in silence, changing each other forever. And maybe that's why their story never faded. Because in a world obsessed with answers, theirs remained a beautiful question, unanswered yet deeply felt. As cameras flashed and interviews rolled, Keanu kept his calm smile. Fans saw the star, but those who looked closer saw the man, the one who still valued kindness over fame, truth over headlines, peace over chaos. And in that peace, somewhere in his quiet heart, lived a memory that never truly ended. And so, as this chapter closes, one question remains. What if Keanu's real choice now is not about who he loves, but how he loves? Quietly, purely, without the need to prove anything. Unpacking Keanu's private world, the world has always seen Keanu Reeves as a man surrounded by mystery. Fans call him the quiet soul of Hollywood, someone who walks through fame like a traveler passing through fog, visible yet distant. He never chases attention. Instead, he lets his silence speak. But behind that silence, there is a story of pain, loss, and the search for peace. Keanu's life has not been an easy road. He grew up moving from place to place, never staying long enough to build roots. His father left when he was young, leaving a gap that no amount of fame could ever fill. He found comfort in acting, not for glory, but for expression. It was his way of speaking without words. As he grew older, he became the face of strength and humility. Yet behind that calm face, there were stories few ever knew. There were moments when he walked alone through grief, carrying memories that would have broken many others. He lost his best friend, River Phoenix, a brother in spirit. Later, he lost his daughter before she could take her first breath. And soon after, the woman he loved, Jennifer Syme, in a tragic accident. Those were not just losses. They were lessons carved into his heart, and through all of it, Keanu never became bitter. He never blamed life. Instead, he chose quiet acceptance. He learned that love could exist even after loss, that memory could be both a wound and a gift. It shaped the way he saw people, the way he valued connection, not through possession, but through understanding. This quiet strength made him who he is today. While other stars built walls of fame, Keanu built bridges of kindness. He helped strangers, donated silently, gave away money to crew members, and spent hours talking to homeless people without cameras around. He found peace in giving, not in getting. That's why when he speaks about relationships, there's always depth behind his words. He once said in an interview, "Grief and love are connected. You can't have one without the other." That line wasn't from a script. It was a reflection of everything he had lived through. And maybe that's why his connection with Sandra Bullock became something different, something beyond the surface. She too had seen her share of heartbreak and public judgment. She too had walked through fame with grace, never letting it harden her. When they met, it wasn't just two actors crossing paths. It was two souls who understood silence. Keanu has always been careful with love. He doesn't move fast. He doesn't follow the Hollywood rhythm of endless relationships and headlines. His love language is time, patience, and consistency. And maybe that's why fans still believe his bond with Sandra carried something rare, a form of emotional honesty that needed no label. Still, Keanu's heart wasn't frozen in the past. As time went on, people began to notice a quiet change in him. He started appearing in public again, not alone this time, but beside Alexandra Grant, a woman known for her art, her kindness, and her calm energy. They shared something similar: creativity, compassion, and simplicity. They didn't seek attention. They simply existed together. For some fans, this was a surprise. Many had built dreams around Keanu and Sandra's connection. But those who truly understood him knew this change wasn't a contradiction. It was a continuation. It was Keanu choosing peace, choosing balance after decades of loss. Alexandra represented a new chapter, not a replacement. Still, deep down, the world couldn't stop comparing. Every interview, every photo, every public appearance brought whispers. Some said he had moved on. Others said he was finally allowing himself happiness. But maybe the truth was simpler. Maybe he had never stopped loving those who shaped him. He just learned to carry them differently. Keanu's private world is full of quiet rituals. He reads poetry at night. He rides his motorcycle through long, empty roads. He gives away gifts to strangers without revealing his name. He listens more than he speaks. Those who work with him often say that he remembers everyone, from the director to the set janitor. He treats all with the same respect. These small things, often unseen, reveal who he truly is. Not the movie star, but the man who values human connection more than fame. And maybe that's why Sandra always spoke of him with admiration. She once said, "Keanu never changes. He stays kind." In an industry where people shift with every role, he stayed grounded. But Keanu's quiet life also carried conflict. Being kind in a world that profits from drama is not easy. The media often tried to dig into his privacy, twisting stories, connecting dots that didn't exist. He never fought back publicly, but those close to him say it affected him deeply. He wanted people to understand his work, not his pain. And yet, no matter how private he tried to remain, people could sense his depth. That's the paradox of Keanu Reeves. He hides nothing, yet reveals everything without speaking. His kindness shines even when he doesn't intend it to. When Alexandra entered his life, she didn't erase the past. She helped him live with it peacefully. She understood his silence, his grief, and his respect for the people who came before her, including Sandra. In many ways, Alexandra represented Keanu's decision to live again, to stop carrying sorrow as a weight and instead carry it as wisdom. This was Keanu's real transformation, not from loneliness to love, but from survival to serenity. It was about allowing himself to smile without guilt, to give his heart another chance. Still, in quiet moments, those who have worked close to him say his thoughts sometimes drift, not to fame, not to money, but to people, those who touched his life deeply, those who helped him grow. Sandra Bullock, among them, remains a name that brings him peace, not because of romance, but because of what she represents: trust, honesty, and friendship that never demanded more than presence. His private world, once filled with silence, had slowly begun to open. Not to everyone, but to those who truly saw him. And in that small circle, both Sandra and Alexandra exist in harmony, proof that love, in all its forms, can coexist without conflict. As fans continued to wonder about his choices, one truth became clearer. Keanu Reeves does not live by what the world expects. He lives by what his heart can carry without breaking. And maybe that's the real secret behind his calm. He doesn't chase what is loud. He protects what is real. The deeper we look into his private world, the more we understand that Keanu's life isn't about fame or image, it's about grace. And in that grace lies the answer to the question people keep asking: what is Keanu's real choice now? His real choice is not just about who stands beside him, but what kind of man he chooses to be: humble, kind, and quietly strong. And perhaps that's what Sandra saw in him long before the world did. In the next part, we look closer at that choice, the conflict between love and longevity, and how Keanu's decisions challenge what the world thinks happiness should look like. The choice in question, love versus longevity in Hollywood. People are used to seeing love as a story with a perfect ending. Red carpets, romantic headlines, and photo flashes become proof that something real exists. But Keanu Reeves has never lived by those rules. For him, love is not a performance. It's something deeper, quieter, and often misunderstood. As his life unfolded, the world started to see a different kind of love story, one that wasn't about grand gestures or lifelong vows, but about the choices that shape who we become. And for Keanu, the greatest choice was never between two people. It was between love and peace, connection and solitude, memory and moving on. After decades of heartbreak, many expected him to close himself off completely. Yet, he didn't. He learned that love could exist in many shapes, not all of them romantic. His friendship with Sandra Bullock proved that. It showed the world that two people could share a bond so deep it didn't need a label to survive. Still, people couldn't stop asking, why didn't they ever become a couple? Why did their story remain incomplete? Maybe because Keanu's real choice wasn't about being with someone forever, but about keeping something sacred untouched. He once said in a quiet interview, "Sometimes, keeping something pure is more powerful than changing it." That line confused reporters, but it made sense to those who understood him. He wasn't rejecting love. He was protecting it. Keanu has seen how fame can twist truth, how public love can turn into spectacle. He's seen relationships collapse under the weight of cameras. Maybe that's why he never allowed his bond with Sandra to be consumed by headlines. It was too honest, too fragile to risk. And yet deep down, the emotions between them were real. Those who worked on the lake house described how they would sit together after shooting, talking about life, not work. Sandra once said, "We could talk about anything and nothing, and it always felt right." It wasn't the kind of conversation that needed an ending. It was the kind that could last a lifetime. For Keanu, love has always been tied to loss. He knows how easily joy can vanish, so he learned to love in a way that leaves room for letting go. That doesn't mean he avoids commitment. It means he values emotional truth more than traditional definitions. And this is where his life became a quiet question for the world. What matters more, longevity or honesty? Staying with someone forever, or being fully present with them while you can? Keanu's actions often speak louder than any answer. He supports Alexandra Grant with calm loyalty, attends art events beside her, and encourages her creativity the same way she supports his. It's not loud love, it's steady love. And that perhaps is what he always wanted. But still, the shadow of the past lingers, not as regret, but as reminder. The world doesn't see Keanu torn between women. It sees a man walking between time. One part of his heart belongs to his past, the people who shaped him, the moments that built his empathy. The other part belongs to now, the calm, the acceptance, the simple joy of existing in peace. In truth, love and longevity were never opposites for him. They were lessons. Longevity without love means nothing, and love without respect doesn't last. Sandra taught him the first part. Alexandra helped him live the second. There was a time when fans created endless theories online, secret letters, missed proposals, hidden emotions. But in all that noise, they missed what mattered most. Keanu's real choice was never hidden at all. It was right there, in the way he treats people. When he sits next to someone, he listens fully. When he helps, he expects nothing back. When he smiles, it's not for cameras. These small things show that love for Keanu is not a destination. It's a way of walking through life. Still, the idea of the one fascinates people. Everyone wants to believe there's only one person who completes us. But maybe Keanu's story teaches the opposite. Maybe love is not about finding the one, but about recognizing the right kind of energy, the kind that makes you kinder, quieter, and more at peace. For him, Sandra may always represent that spark of timeless connection, someone who understands without explanation. Alexandra represents the healing that follows, the proof that life continues. Both belong to his story, not as rivals, but as reflections of who he has become. Hollywood may never understand such balance. People want drama, not peace. But Keanu has never lived for what others want. His heart has its own rhythm, one that follows kindness, not headlines. When reporters once asked him what happiness means, he paused and said, "It's not something you chase. It's something you carry." Those words reveal everything. Love to him is not something to win. It's something to protect. His real choice is this: to live without pretending, to care deeply without owning, to love quietly even when no one sees it. And in that silence, he's found what many spend their lives searching for: balance. Sandra once said in a quiet interview, "There's just something about Keanu that makes you feel safe." She wasn't talking about romance. She was talking about energy, the kind that stays even after the person leaves the room. That's the kind of love that outlives time. So when people ask, why didn't it happen between them? Maybe the answer is, it already did, just not in the way the world expected. Keanu's choice was never about who to be with. It was about how to love in a world that often forgets what love really means. And as the years pass, that choice continues to define him. Through every movie, every silence, every quiet act of generosity, he reminds people that sometimes the most powerful stories are not about what happens, but about what doesn't. In the next part, we step beyond the headlines and explore the true nature of Keanu and Sandra's bond, a friendship that redefines what it means to care for someone across decades without losing the essence of love itself. Beyond the headlines, the true nature of their bond through the noise of Hollywood gossip and endless fan theories, one truth has quietly survived. Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock share something that most people never find, even in a lifetime of searching. It isn't romance, at least not the kind that magazines sell. It's something far deeper, something that doesn't fit into words or headlines. It's the kind of connection that doesn't fade with distance, fame, or time. Whenever they cross paths, it's never a reunion filled with flash or performance. It's simple: a smile, a small laugh, a few warm words. Yet those brief moments hold a weight that millions can feel even through a photograph. Because their connection was never about appearances, it was about presence. Sandra once said, "Keanu is like that person you don't have to talk to every day, but when you do, it feels like no time has passed." That line reveals the foundation of their bond: trust without demand, care without conditions. In a world that values constant attention, they found comfort in silence. Keanu, too, has always spoken of Sandra with genuine warmth. He never overshares, never dramatizes. He simply says, "She's a good friend, she's kind." And somehow, those few words carry more truth than any long explanation. When he speaks of her, there's a quiet respect that tells you she holds a special place in his heart. Over the years, their lives have gone in different directions. Sandra became a mother, raising her children with grace and love. Keanu continued his journey through films and humanitarian work. But whenever their names appear together, the world stops and smiles. It's as if people see in them a reflection of what we all wish love could be: honest, loyal, and free of ego. There's a rare purity in how they treat each other. They don't chase attention, they don't try to recreate the past. They simply exist in each other's lives with quiet gratitude. When Sandra faced personal struggles, including the painful betrayal that ended her marriage, Keanu reached out, not with public gestures, but private support. No cameras, no quotes, just presence. That's how he shows care, not through grand words, but through silent action. And when Keanu experienced grief, losing loved ones and facing long periods of loneliness, Sandra was among the few who checked on him quietly. She didn't speak about it publicly, but friends close to both have said that her kindness brought him comfort during his hardest years. Their friendship has become something much greater than fans realize. It's a model of emotional maturity. They prove that love can exist beyond labels, that you can care deeply for someone without the need to possess them. It's a bond that has survived fame, distance, and the passing of time. Some fans call it the friendship that feels like a poem. It has rhythm, pauses, and meaning between every line. There's beauty in what they never said. Keanu's and Sandra's connection has always been quiet, but the world keeps listening. Why? Because in their silence, people hear truth. When they reunited at events years later, standing side by side for photos, the chemistry was still there. Not forced, not staged. It was calm, gentle, and familiar. Sandra would smile with her whole face, and Keanu would respond with that soft, humble grin that has become his signature. Interviewers often tried to spark romantic speculation again, but both refused to feed it. Instead, they talked about respect. Keanu once said, "She's one of those people who make others better just by being around." And Sandra replied, "He's someone you never forget because he's kind to everyone." Not just to the famous faces. Their words never aimed to create headlines, but they always created hope. In a time when most connections fade under pressure, theirs remained untouched, like a quiet flame that refuses to go out. Many people have wondered what keeps their bond so strong. Perhaps it's the way they see the world. Both have learned the value of compassion through pain. Both have seen how fragile life can be, and both understand that fame fades, but kindness stays. They remind people that friendship can be as powerful as love, and sometimes even more lasting. Their connection has outlived the gossip, survived the curiosity, and grown stronger with time. It's a kind of modern love story, not romantic, but deeply emotional in today's world, where relationships are often measured by social media posts and public displays. Their quiet loyalty feels revolutionary. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. Their silence is their strength, and that's what fans admire most. They see in Keanu and Sandra not just two stars, but two human beings who choose authenticity over image. It's rare, and it's beautiful. One quiet story reveals everything. Years ago, after the lake house, Sandra sent Keanu a small handmade book of thank you notes from the film crew. He never spoke about it publicly, but those who visited his home later noticed it sitting on a shelf untouched by dust. It wasn't decoration, it was memory. A quiet symbol of gratitude, respect, and shared history. That's the essence of their bond. It lives in small acts, not in declarations. It's not built on what they tell the world, but what they keep for themselves. For fans, their friendship represents something pure in an often cynical industry. It's proof that kindness doesn't fade, that respect can survive fame, and that love, whatever shape it takes, can last a lifetime without needing a title. As the world watches Keanu continue his journey, and Sandra hers, people still whisper, maybe their souls found each other long ago, and that's why they've never drifted apart. Because sometimes, life doesn't need to give you everything you dream of. Sometimes it gives you just enough. A person who understands your silence, remembers your laughter, and prays for your peace even from afar. And that, perhaps, is what Keanu and Sandra have always been for each other. Not unfinished love, but eternal understanding. In the next part, we explore why their story continues to live on in the hearts of millions, and how their connection has become more than a Hollywood tale, transforming into a symbol of what it truly means to love selflessly and live kindly. The enduring legacy and fan reflection time has passed. Decades have gone by since Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock first appeared together on screen. Yet their connection still echoes through every generation of fans. People who watched Speed in the 90s now share clips with their children, calling it the moment that showed what real chemistry looks like. It's not just nostalgia, it's something deeper. It's the way their bond still feels alive, even after so many years, as if the story never really ended. In interviews, both have moved on to talk about their separate lives, but somehow every question finds its way back to the other. Reporters still ask, "Do you keep in touch?" And fans still wait for a smile, a small hint, anything that reminds them of that spark. And each time, Keanu and Sandra respond the same way, with warmth, humility, and a quiet fondness that speaks louder than any confirmation. Fans around the world have turned their story into something larger than Hollywood, a reflection of human connection itself. They see in Keanu and Sandra what they wish for in their own lives. A love that's not about possession, but understanding. A friendship that doesn't demand constant attention, but never fades. A connection that grows silently through kindness. On social media, fan pages still share old interviews where Sandra laughs while describing Keanu's gentle nature, or where Keanu smiles softly when her name is mentioned. Under those clips, thousands of comments appear, people saying that this kind of respect and honesty gives them hope that real connection still exists. Some fans write, "They remind me that not every love story has to end with marriage. Some end with peace." Others say, "They make me believe that time doesn't break every bond." That's what makes their story different. It's not about what could have been. It's about what is. A lasting example of two people who continue to support and admire each other without needing to prove it to the world. In an era where relationships are constantly performed for cameras, theirs feels sacred. When Sandra faced loss, when she adopted her children, when she spoke about building a new life filled with meaning, Keanu's support was always quiet, but certain. And when Keanu began sharing parts of his world with Alexandra Grant, Sandra expressed nothing but happiness for him. That's the kind of mutual respect that defines true connection. It doesn't shrink when life changes. It adapts. People often mistake peace for absence. But what Keanu and Sandra have taught the world is that peace can be presence, the kind of invisible strength that lives between two hearts long after the world stops looking. The reason their story continues to live isn't just because of fame. It's because it represents something everyone longs for, a relationship, whether romantic or not, that feels safe, honest, and unconditional. Each generation of fans finds new meaning in their journey. For some, it's a lesson in friendship. For others, it's a story about second chances and emotional maturity. And for many, it's proof that love doesn't always need a traditional ending to be real. As their lives continue, the fascination has only grown gentler. There's no longer a hunger for gossip, but a quiet admiration. People watch interviews not to look for secrets, but to feel inspired. Because in a world that moves too fast, their story slows people down. It makes them think about loyalty, kindness, and what truly matters. Keanu and Sandra have both built legacies that go beyond cinema. They've built lives rooted in compassion. Sandra has supported charities for children and families. Keanu has donated millions to hospitals, schools, and crew members without ever seeking credit. Their kindness reflects the same values that once drew them together. In a strange way, fans feel part of their journey. They share stories of how Keanu's humility helped them through tough times, or how Sandra's strength gave them hope after betrayal. Their real-life actions have made them more than actors. They've become symbols of endurance and grace. That's why their connection still means something. It isn't just about the past. It's about how they continue to represent the best parts of humanity in a world that often forgets them. When people watch them, they see what love and respect look like when you remove ego and replace it with care. Their friendship shows that two people can love each other deeply, even without being together. And that kind of love, the selfless kind, is what truly lasts. One fan once wrote, "Every time Keanu and Sandra smile when talking about each other, it feels like time stops for a moment." Maybe that's the secret. They don't chase the past, but they honor it. They keep it alive through kindness. And so, the legacy of Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock isn't just a story of two stars. It's a reflection of how love, in its purest form, can inspire the world. It's a reminder that some connections are not meant to fade because they were never built on desire alone. They were built on understanding. This story continues to travel quietly through hearts across the world. It moves through people who believe in the power of gentle souls and unspoken respect. It reminds everyone that the best kind of love is the one that doesn't seek attention. It simply exists, quietly, beautifully, forever, as fans continue to celebrate them. Keanu and Sandra remain exactly who they've always been, humble, kind, and true. They don't need to confirm or deny anything, because their actions have already told the story, and maybe that's why people keep coming back, not to know what happened, but to feel what still lives on between them. The mystery isn't in their past. It's in their grace. In the final part, we will uncover what Keanu's real choice truly means today, and how his quiet path continues to inspire millions to choose kindness, respect, and inner peace over fame or recognition. Keanu's real choice now as the years passed. Keanu Reeves found himself standing at a place few people ever reach, a space between the life the world sees and the peace he quietly built within. There was no rush, no noise, just a gentle balance between past and present. He had lived through loss, love, and healing, but through it all, he had chosen one thing again and again: kindness. His fans often call him the internet's gentle soul, but those who truly understand his journey know that his kindness was not born from ease. It was born from pain. Each tragedy had taught him something about empathy, about how fragile human hearts can be. And so, rather than letting life harden him, he softened. He learned to carry grief like a candle, not a burden. And that is where his real choice begins. The question has followed him for years. Who holds his heart? Is it Sandra Bullock, the woman whose soul once mirrored his? Or Alexandra Grant, the partner who now shares his calm life? But the truth goes beyond names. Keanu's real choice was never just about love. It was about how to live with love, how to keep it pure, free, and human. His friendship with Sandra became the quiet thread that taught him what selfless connection looks like. She showed him that love doesn't have to be loud to be real. It can live in laughter, in memories, in moments of silent understanding. It can exist without promises and still never end. His bond with Alexandra became something different, an act of renewal. With her, he found the courage to open up again, to believe that life could still hold light after so much loss. She didn't erase the past. She helped him live with it. Together, they created something calm, something peaceful, something true. And so, when people ask, what is Keanu's real choice now? The answer is not a person, it's a way of being. It's the decision to choose peace over pain, compassion over fear, gratitude over regret. He once said in an interview, "Every day you wake up is a chance to start again." Those words became his quiet philosophy. He doesn't look back with sorrow. He looks back with appreciation. For every soul that touched his life, he carries a quiet thank you. Sandra, Alexandra, his friends, his fans, they are all part of his journey. The world often wants a simple answer, a perfect ending. It wants to know who he chose, what the final story is. But Keanu's life teaches something far greater, that not every story ends with closure. Some end with peace, behind the fame, behind the movies, behind the headlines. There's a man who still takes the bus, who still buys food for strangers, who still treats every person with the same quiet respect. He doesn't need to prove anything. He just lives his truth. That truth is kindness. For him, kindness is not a gesture, it's a way of existing. It's the small smile to a fan, the helping hand to a crew member, the silent donation to someone who will never know his name. These acts define him more than any film ever could. And maybe that's why Sandra once said, Keanu's the same person everywhere, in front of a camera or behind it. She saw what the world later realized. His real magic isn't in his fame, but in his heart. As life continues, both Keanu and Sandra walk their separate paths. But their connection remains, unbroken, unspoken, eternal. Whenever their names are mentioned together, the room fills with warmth, because people know it's not about rumors or what-ifs. It's about two souls who chose respect over attention. Their story has become a mirror for millions. People see in them the beauty of restraint, the strength of quiet love, and the hope that kindness can outlast time. Their connection reminds us that not all love stories need to end in marriage. Some end in gratitude. And for Keanu, that is his real choice now, to live with gratitude. To thank every moment, every person, every memory that made him who he is. To keep walking humbly, smiling softly, and loving quietly. The world will always remember him as the hero from The Matrix or John Wick. But those who look deeper will remember something else. The man who chose peace when life offered chaos. Who chose gentleness when the world expected bitterness. In the end, Keanu's real choice is not between people or paths. It's between living for the world or living for truth. And he chose truth, the kind that doesn't need applause, only understanding. His story with Sandra will always remain untold in detail, but that's what makes it timeless. Some bonds are not meant to be explained. They're meant to be felt. And maybe that's why, even after all these years, the world still whispers their names together, not out of curiosity, but out of admiration. Because deep down, everyone knows that what they shared was rare, honest, and unforgettable. Keanu Reeves' real choice now is the same choice he's always made. To be kind, to be real, and to keep his heart open, even when the world doesn't understand. He doesn't chase the spotlight. He walks beside it. He doesn't seek love. He gives it freely. He doesn't try to be perfect. He tries to be human. And that is why, long after the noise fades, his story, and the quiet grace of his connection with Sandra, will continue to live in hearts around the world. Because kindness, once given, never disappears. It becomes legacy.
Thank you for watching another story of kindness. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every act of kindness deserves to be remembered.